up, gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice & Dragons, we are going to be reviewing Zombicide 2nd Edition, the Washington Z.C. campaign expansion. This is, of course, once again, published by CMON Games in conjunction with Edition Games, and it is designed by Nicolas, Raoult, Jean-Baptiste, Lullien, and Raphaël Guiton. Pretty sure I got that perfect this time. So I'll toss it over to Julie, who's going to tell you more about this expansion for the game.
So it is a cooperative game that's intended for ages 14 and above, plays 1 to 6 players, and the box says an hour, but it's taken us longer sometimes.
We'll get into that when we talk more about the campaign, but you want to get XP, you want lots of XP, it's going to take a little while, a lot longer than an hour for a mission. Now, what are you doing in Zombicide, Washington, D.C.? Well,
Z.C.
Yes, sorry. It's now Z.C. It has been infested by zombies. This is a campaign expansion that includes 10 new missions for the game. You're going to be going through the campaign, defeating zombies, and you will have to achieve specific objectives, while you also need to survive the day and night, as the game will get more difficult when you get into the night cycle. You will also be able to carry over some of your equipment between missions, which is very cool.
Well, maybe.
Well, maybe. We'll talk about that as well. But as you progress, gain new skills and abilities, the missions will get more and more challenging. And then hopefully you'll get to the end of the campaign. Well, there is no rules for you to lose the campaign. So let's just hope that you do it in a reasonable amount of plays and successfully complete this storyline. This first campaign ever for Zombicide. Well, we've been playing it for a while. As you can see, it's set up in front of us. So what do we need to do, Julie?
We need to grab our drinks.
Grab our best friend and fellow survivor.
I'm going to take it to the table one more time.
One more time before we give you the review. Got a few more times to finish the campaign, but we'll let you know where we're at when we get back. Now we're going to take a quick look at the components for Zombicide 2nd Edition's campaign expansion, Washington Z.C. Now, as we usually do, we'll start with the rule book. So you do get some new rules for the campaign. You have a nice rule summary, pretty much the exact same one that you had on Zombicide 2nd Edition on the back. Some of the key rules are the new light sources, your night vision goggles, the nighttime rules about the tank, and of course, the campaign and setting up the campaign itself, your campaign XP, objectives, and all of that stuff. So that is why you get the new rulebook. And of course, you also do have your missions. I do want to clean some stuff up here as I was trying to keep a nice tight view. So we do have some excess stuff that is, covering some things I want to show you. Here are the mission cards. So each pack, you can tell which one they are. So WZC, Washington ZC M1, M2, M3, all the way through to mission 10. Now we're not going to take a look at these. Don't want to have any spoilers. We'll take a look at this next. So these are the campaign sheets. So you've got a space for your survivor name, your campaign XP, campaign skills, bonus actions, your equipment, any campaign achievements that you get. And the only thing I don't like about this is there really aren't all that many copies. So it is a little disappointing, but very easy to copy if you have a scanner and printer. Next, you have the new all-out dice, which have the break symbol. Other than that, they're standard D6s. Now, those work in conjunction with your whole new deck of cards. Now, these will replace your existing ones in the original game. So the same equipment, just it's got the all-out dice. You can roll that extra red die, but there is now a chance that you may break your weapon. Now, we have this is called our advanced starting weapons and advanced equipment deck. You'll see from these similar stuff, except you do have your kukri now has +2 dice. Chainsaw can go up to 8 die. Sawed-off gets an extra +2. So all of your cards get extra dice, except of course the Molotov. Everything else remains the same. Now take a look at the pimp weapon deck. So just draw a couple of those. So you can see Nailbat, Evil Twins, Golden Kukri, Sansetsuken. Of course, there's still the chance of spawning a walker. Then the real new deck that we get here, because it's entirely new, is the Secret Service deck. So you got items like the Riot Shield, repair kits to repair your weapons, Glocks, and you'll notice that in the Secret Service deck, you get a lot more all-out dice than your regular die. You've got the night vision goggles, the Kabar, which can actually modify some melee weapons. You've got a Colt M16A sniper, rifle, and I like it's got night vision on it, which is pretty cool. Folding shovel, lots of cool stuff that you can get in this deck. We also have the new starting player token, which is also used to keep track of the hours. So you can see we've got 12 hours for day and 12 hours for night. We also have these new light source tokens, which you'll be using when you have a flashlight, as zombies may be attracted to them, giving them extra activations, but you will not need to fight under nighttime conditions if you have a light source. We also have the new Humvee token, which will be used in some areas. It counts as a Secret Service area. So if you're searching it, you can draw from the Secret Service deck. Let's take a look at the new survivors that we get. We have Anton, who has some specific actions tied to his all-out actions. So +1 die ranged, all-out +1 damage range, great way to take out abominations. +1 free all-out combat action, all-out +1 free combat actions. So you can see what you can do. You also get shove. Justin's got the Jack of all trades ability, which means he gets to start with one of the campaign skills as his starting blue skill. +1 action, +1 free melee action. All out, he gets +1 die to combat. All out +1 die to combat rolls. You get the new bloodlust. Well, not new. You got bloodlust melee, which is pretty cool, as it's not all out. And of course, you get lucky as well. Ashley gets +1 die to melee, +1 free move action, shove, free combat action, +1 dice roll to melee or hit and run. Tess has an all-out bloodlust melee, meaning that she's got to go all out to use it. +1 action, +1 die combat, sprint, which is always fun. A free melee action, a free ranged action, and an all-out +1 free combat action. So it can be either. And these are our survivors. But you know what? I only have 4 of them here. I neglected to grab the other 2. Give me 2 seconds. Now, we've got our other 2 survivors here in the pack. Sorry that I neglected it. Let's slide them out. I have them mixed in with the presidents, and I also kind of like showing you these because we will be doing a review on the presidential pack not long after this comes out. So we do have Mindy, who has +1 free all-out melee action, a free melee action, double her all-out dice. That's pretty crazy. Good for 1 big hit, 1 free move action, all-out bloodlust melee, or melee damage 2, which is very cool. Then Angelo, +1 free all-out ranged action, free range action, brother in arms, +1 free combat action. So that gives everyone a free combat action. Very cool. +1 dice to roll combat, brother in action, +1 die combat, and sniper. So lots of cool stuff from the survivors. Here we got the miniatures, of course. We have the Angelo miniature. A lot of detail. Really like the way that they look. We've got Ashley holding a chainsaw and the axe. It's always fun to be the character that is wielding the chainsaw. We've got Mindy with her blade ready to kick some butt. Here we've got Justin, our jack of all trades, ready to slay some zombies. Tess, ready to sprint into action, which I really like from her character design. And then Anton, who is going to blow everyone away at range. I love just the way his jacket's flowing. It's really cool. We also get the survivor minis. Some of them might join you throughout the campaign. Some of them might just be for a mission. We have this one right here. I'm not going to tell you her name. Don't want to have any spoilers, but you'll be able to acquire her as well as this gentleman. And then the last thing we're going to look at are the tiles. So we do get new tiles for Washington Z.C. As you can see, we've got a nice setup of the interior of the White House. Corridors will count as street zones, rooms you can move into, doors you can bust open, objectives that if you're playing just a standard version, not with the mission objectives, you can use your objective tokens. So I do like the fact they took that into account in order to be able to use them for even just custom missions. Some Humvees you can search, offices, the tank, which is pretty cool, more offices, and then of course we'll end on the Oval Office. Pretty cool. Well, other side we've got this big oval conference room. And there you have it. These are all the components that you get with the Zombicide 2nd Edition Washington Z.C. expansion. Now keep it right here as Julie and I will be coming back at you with a review of this expansion. Zombicide 2nd Edition Washington Z.C.
I know it's ZC because it's DC, but we're in Canada, so it should be ZC.
I'm going to go with ZC. Sounds better.
I know it does. Zombie Central, is that it?
Maybe. Well, I don't know what... Well, it's District of Columbia, so... Zombie Columbia? I don't know. I don't know where we're going with this. Let's get back on track. What did you think of this expansion?
I had fun with it. I don't know if it's a sick perversion of envisioning zombies in the White House, but it was fun. I mean, I liked the different missions, the different campaigns. I like the mechanics of being able to potentially keep your weapons and having I like the Secret Service deck. I like what it adds.
Lots of good stuff. And just to clarify where we are currently at in the campaign, we have not yet finished the campaign. We just completed Mission 7. That's why we're doing the review. We've got a few missions left to go. We got some other reviews to get to, but we will be finishing this. So you may see us give you a quick update video that will drop on a Tuesday with our final thoughts on the campaign. But we've definitely got enough covered for the review. And I do agree. I really like the Secret Service deck. I love the new all-out dice rules. And the day-night cycle does make things a lot more challenging. I do think we've got a good handle on this. And just to clarify, we are playing with the presidents. Not all of the presidents. We decided to take 2 as our characters for the campaign. We did cheat on one mission and switched out the characters so we could play as all the presidents to give you our reviews. So you can expect to see that coming in the near future. When it's available, a card will pop up that will be able to take you to that video if you want to check it out. I suggest checking it out after going through this whole review, though.
I agree. You have the pimp weapons and you have certain rooms that give you the Secret Service. So I felt like there was a lot more gear. And I guess I didn't enjoy getting in the car or, the tank as much. No, the tank is in this one. What was the other thing besides the car? Or was it 2 cars?
We had 2 cars that we could drive around in.
Yeah, so I didn't enjoy that as much as I thought I would. In this, we had a tank at one point. We found some 50 caliber bullets that I was able to shoot the tank from the tank. So I thought that was pretty cool. I agree with you though. Nighttime did add some difficulty to this, which made it a little bit more challenging and added a new dynamic, which I thought was interesting.
I really think they've done a great job of taking the Zombicide experience and figuring out a realistic way to carry things over. Now, with regards to your campaign skills, you get an extra skill. It's pretty cool. They aren't the most useful skills in the game, but it's very solid. It does make you feel powerful. In order to level up, you have to get to level orange and red, meaning that throughout the campaign, there is the possibility of gaining 2 XP per character per mission. But to do that, if you really want to, it's going to make the game take a long time. I did see a post on Facebook where someone commented that each mission was taking them 3 hours. I was trying to figure out why it was taking them so long. Then I thought about it, depending on how you're playing. If you're trying to get everyone into orange and red, yeah, it could definitely take you 3 hours. Our longest games of this, I think, have been between the 1.5 to 2 hour mark, depending on how things were going. And at that point, it was typically that something went very, very wrong. What do you think of the objective cards, Julie, and how they change the board constantly and even give you some cool new things you can do?
Well, I like the fact that sometimes they're really bad and sometimes they're really good. So you don't know. I mean, you always want to try to get some new loot and some new cool things, and sometimes you
opened the door?
I opened the door and I got invaded by 10 zombies, or was it 12 zombies? 10 walkers and 2 fatties, I think. So there are some bad things that happen with some of the objectives, but I also got found 50 caliber bullets, which allowed me to kill 3 abominations. So,
yes, and she rolled very well. We got quite lucky. I thought we were going to be in a little bit of trouble. That is another thing that can cause some issues with the game. And I do think there should be, in certain missions, they need you to kill certain things. They should spawn automatically based on things that happen in the game, not being reliant on the zombie deck. If it wasn't for one of the achievements that we had and how we were playing the game, we would have had to go through the zombie deck an entire second time in order to complete our objective, which would make the game take incredibly long. I think that's definitely the biggest drawback that I see with Washington Z.C. is how you get your campaign XP. That being said, you don't want to become too powerful, so I understand why they limit it, but it's very challenging to get all of it without spending a lot of time in the game just murdering zombies, which is fun, but I think after you clear that 1 hour and a half to 2 hour
we really didn't concentrate too much on that. I think we did a little bit more in, I would say, in mission 6. I think campaign 6, we tried a little bit harder.
No, we also did it earlier on in 3 and 4. When we got close to orange, we tried to make sure everyone got orange. We never really made the push to red because that just would have been a lot more time spent.
Yeah. But as you said, I mean, you talked about it quickly. The special skills aren't that awesome. I mean, I think some of the weapons that you can get and lose, are maybe more interesting even than some of the XP. I mean, my Zansetsuken, is that it?
Yes, the Zansetsuken.
Has been lots of fun. There's a couple guns that I've had that have been lots of fun as well.
The Gunblade, which we've pretty much passed around, and we both cry when it gets broken because it's the best weapon.
Yeah, so speaking of breaking a weapon...
why don't we talk about the all-out dice? So I think we should talk about breaking as well as how they work.
So the all-out dice give you a little bit more opportunity to kill some extra... zombies depending on the different weapons that you have, but you run the risk. Is it 1 out of 6 or 2 out of 6?
1 out of 6 with regards to breaking.
Yeah, so if you roll one of these, I don't know if you can see it.
You would have been able to see it in the.
Okay, but I'm showing it now since I have one in front of me.
I'm just telling them if they want to go back.
It's 1 out of 6. So if you roll the equivalent of a 1, basically, you break your weapon. And if you're rolling badly, it can happen. It happened to me a few times in a couple of games that I just rolled really badly and broke my weapon the first time I tried to use it.
And you really got to think about what you're doing, because if you break your fire axe and your crowbar early on, depending on where you're at, you might just be like, well, we're done the mission. We can't do anything. We can't search any rooms. Can't get any more gear. Time to reset everything. So just think about what you're doing when you're going to be rolling the all-out dice, because that is a choice. You do not have to do it.
Well, unless you're one, like my character Tess has all-out bloodlust melee, which means I get to move a little bit more, but I have no choice but to use the all-out dice.
Yes. So there are some skills that do take advantage of the new all-out dice. I've been playing as Anton, and he gets an extra all-out die when he's doing ranged. So that is, a little bit more risky, but you might be able to kill a lot more zombies. And especially if you've got a nice shotgun and you're trying to take out a group of fatties, you probably want that extra die, but you could break your weapon. Now, you were talking about the Secret Service deck, and that is a great new addition. And we didn't talk about the changes to the game and some of the components. So you do get a new deck of equipment cards, starting cards, and pimp weapons. Now those all match the content from the original game. The difference is they have the all-out dice on them, and you're now able to use those extra dice as well as break your weapons when you use them. It also goes for carrying your weapons over. We'll talk about that in just a second. Now the Secret Service deck, however, the interesting thing about that is the weapons are very good. They do have some things like night vision, so you're able to see at night. You can find some night vision goggles. You can even get repair kits so that if you actually break your weapon, you can chuck the repair kit instead and keep it. Now, the interesting thing about all the weapons is they typically have a higher number of all-out dice that you can roll than your standard weapons, meaning they may be a little bit more powerful or have a couple extra abilities, but to really use them to their fullest, you gotta roll those all-out dice. Otherwise, they may not be as good as even your starting weapons.
Yeah. So, and you were talking about that. Each of your weapons, basically, the better they are, the higher number they have. Basically, at the end of the game, you can potentially keep them if you haven't broken them, but you have to roll, in this case, for the gunblade, like we were talking about, 4 all-out dice to see if you break it. So if you don't roll any of those break symbols, then you get to keep it for the next mission. And I've been lucky sometimes. Like in this case, I'm carrying a bunch of my weapons over. But other times...
you broke everything? I broke half my stuff this last time.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a little frustrating. The first time I got a lot more upset about it. But there is a fair amount of opportunity to pick up some weapons. So I think it's fair that way. I mean, they're not all created equal. There are some weapons that are a lot better, especially depending on the character's abilities. But, I think they've done a good job with the opportunities of weapons and the amount of zombies and the type of zombies that you're facing.
100% agree. And it's a real important thing to note is that you can take the decks and replace them with, you can take them into your original Zombicide game. So if you'd like to set up a campaign through whatever missions you're using, you can easily take the rules. They're designed to be used like that and apply them to all the other missions. The only difference is you aren't going to get the campaign, those decks of cards that'll give you that real flavor and variety that you're getting with Washington Z.C. as you go through it for the first time. But it's really nice to think that if we want to play, there's 24 missions in Zombicide, the original game. There are also missions that come out online. They are even doing like origin stories for a bunch of the survivors. We can make our own campaign very easily with the content that's included in this box, which I think is just a real great value to have.
Okay.
But the one negative I want to say is the narrative. If you're a narrative gamer like we are, is definitely very light. You're still getting Zombicide level narrative. It's still fun, tongue in cheek. It's all about killing zombies. But don't expect this deep story because you're in Washington and there's a chance that you're going to encounter the president. There's none of that there. But they do a much better job, I would say, of setting the stage for the missions, what's happened, and those cards that you're going to be picking up that have replaced the objective tokens really give you an idea as to what's been going on in the White House. So I really like that, but it's still not a narrative adventure.
No, but it's good. I enjoyed it.
Yes, and the last thing we need to talk about, I just caught my eye on the back of the box here, is the flashlights and the lighting rules. So same as in second edition, except flashlights now do work at night. And the nice thing about that is they do completely get rid of the darkness rules for the zones that they illuminate. That means you can illuminate about 2 zones, so it can help. But ideally, if you got to shoot something that's far away, you probably want to have picked up one of those Colt M16A sniper rifles. Well, not a sniper rifle, but it kind of looks like one with night vision, so you can shoot a few zones away.
Or the night vision goggles.
Yeah, the night vision goggles just mean you're all out a bad ass. Well, I don't really think there's much more to add to our discussion on Washington Z.C.
You know what we did? There's something we didn't talk about that we normally do is the age range in this case. Is it still appropriate at 14? I think so. I think that's the right age for this.
Oh, and we did talk a little bit about the characters. We were using the presidents, which we'll talk a little bit more about during the review for them. Well, sorry, a lot more about. We didn't really talk about the characters that we're playing, how they differentiate from the ones that we played in Modern, and a little bit about the feel for the Washington Z.C. You mentioned it with your character Tess. They have some skills that are designed to take advantage of the all-out dice.
Yeah, well, and I have the same thing with, like you talked about Anton. Ashley has an all-out +1 all-out die for melee, which, strangely enough, because Tess was really the melee character, I think Ashley just ended up being a little bit more gun-focused, less melee, so I never really ended up using her melee action. I think the all-out bloodlust melee was a little bit stronger.
Oh, I have to agree. I think the new skills are good. I'm looking at Anton here. He's got all out +1 damage to range dice, so he's your guy to take out the abominations, and that came in quite handy in a couple of the missions. You've got Justin's Jack of all trades, which is cool because you can pick any skill from the campaign skills at the start of the mission, so you get to see what you're going to do and be a little bit more prepared for that one, and I've really enjoyed using that. And we haven't played all the characters. We played 4 to the 6. The one thing I will say, though, is I can't see myself taking these characters and playing them necessarily over the ones that are included in the core game if we were going to be doing a campaign. Maybe because of some of the all-out abilities, but there's other abilities I like more. We also have the reboot box and the presidents. So I like the characters, but they're definitely not my favorite. They fit very well in this specific box. If you really enjoy any particular one, there is the Fort Hendricks campaign that we're going to be reviewing. I don't know if it's going to be this year or probably in the latter half of the year, but you can probably import them into Fort Hendricks fairly easily. So I think we've now gone through everything we want to talk about, Julie.
Do you want to add anything about the value proposition for this, cost versus what you're getting?
I think that this is a very good expansion. Now, I have to see what the price is in Canada. I haven't seen it. I know that it just hit retail in the US. It's retailing at $42.99. I think that would be, that's on online retailers, so anywhere between that $45 to $60 range. It would be a little high if it wasn't for the fact that you could take the all-out decks, include them into the game, and you were actually getting something new that you can implement in your core game as well. So I think that you're getting a lot of value in the box, some cool new survivors, and just you're getting to experience a whole lot of new mechanics as well as change up your base game. And any expansion that's giving you new content and improves the base game is something that's always good value, almost no matter what the price in my book. But, in a minis game, we do take the amount of content you're getting, and you're getting a solid amount, but it's definitely a little bit lighter on the minis than I would have liked. Some of the stuff you can't actually bring back, like the companions, you won't really use them in your base modern box.
So on that note, Jason, why don't you give your score of the game?
So this actually might score, it's probably going to score actually a little higher than the base game, because I think that this is the best experience. This is the reason why we backed Zombicide Modder. Julie wasn't really into it, but I talked about campaigns and we figured we'd give it a go. And so we did it. And I love this expansion. I think that this expansion goes very well with the base game. And if you have the base game and you're buying it at retail, this is a must buy. I'm giving this expansion a 9. I think that this is excellent and makes the base game even better. Now, this is still based on Zombicide, so this is 9 for this specific expansion. If you don't like Zombicide, take that with a grain of salt, because this is an expansion score, so it doesn't really factor into play as a normal review score. This is in terms of adding value and being just a lot of fun.
I'm going to give it an 8. I'm surprised for your 9. I do enjoy it. I think I had a lot of fun with it, but it's a solid, strong 8.
Well, the 9 is because I think it's a must-have if you like Zombicide 2nd Edition. So it's getting that extra point boost. You know what? I'm actually happy you're correcting me. If I'm just looking at this as I'm buying Zombicide 2nd Edition and I'm getting Washington Z.C, the whole game is still an 8. I'm just saying that in terms of the value you're getting out of this, it brings the game up a lot more. So I don't know, maybe an 8.5 is a better way to call it. I'll go 8.5. She convinced me. It's not a 9, it's an 8.5 because it's still an expansion and the game isn't perfect.
So on that note, it's time to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified when we have new content for you.
So take a look down below in the video description. You will find links to all of our social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. There are tons of pictures of Julie and I playing Zombicide 2nd Edition. So take a look down there. There is also a link to multizone.ca where you will get 10% off your next purchase. It's a great way to support the channel because a portion of that purchase gets returned to us. So if you're looking for Zombicide 2nd Edition, you should check them out. They also do set up some Kickstarter backing for games. So if you are local in the Gatineau area or you're in Canada, you should definitely reach out to them. They are a fantastic group of people. And then popping up in front of us, you're going to have links to our previously released content. Over here will be our most recent release. And over here is, which video, Julie? The review of 2nd Edition or the how to play?
Whichever you
like.
like.
All right, so it's going to be the review. Happy wife, happy life. I've learned that lesson the hard way sometimes.
So it's time to grab our drinks.
Yep. Grab our best friend and fellow survivor.
We gotta keep playing games. Likely keep playing this game.
Well, we want to finish the campaign. It's a bad habit of ours sometimes to jump out before it's done. But
so
some of them
many
are long.
Games to play.
And so little time.